So the intellectual scaffolding behind the Enneagram is not that complicated, really. It's about the fact that we all do have an essential bias. We all have a type of energy that is different from others. There are different types of energy that we bring to bear on the world. And then, apart from that energy, that essential type, we also have developed object strategies. Strategies for dealing with things outside us. And those two things together basically make the Enneagram model of personality. And as we look more and more at the implications of what happens when those things come together, I suppose the goal is that on one level you can make the active part of your personality, that is the way you deal with the world, almost those scripts of dealing with objects, you can make that passive. And your essential nature can become more active. Only so that you can actually develop your personality. So you can actually adopt different scripts, different ways of dealing with the objects in your world. Because we all know that, a little bit like actors in a play that constantly read the same lines, even when the theatre venue has changed, even when the situation has changed. They're stuck reading the same lines, expecting the same players to be around them. That it's really important to recognize that we do need to not internalize so much, to recognize that as we involve the external world, we need to deal with different situations in different ways. Now, what I often see happening is this, that for someone who has a certain strategy at dealing with the world, say someone who in the Enneagram model would be a type 6, well, that means that they're intellectually centered, but obviously in their early childhood, rather than overwhelming or being overwhelmed, they needed to emotionally connect. They needed to actually make sure that they could feel safe and secure through connecting emotionally. And remember that part of the issue of being intellectually centered is that you're constantly considering and you're constantly dealing with a very vivid imagination. So you're looking to actually anchor yourself emotionally. That means that the people around you who try to be bigger than you, you're always trying to match. And so it's this middle position where you're sometimes, I mean, Gurdjieff said the middle position can look both ways, because sometimes it's trying to be small or sometimes it's trying to be bigger. That's why they can lose a lot of energy. Now, if this person looks for development, obviously they realize that in some things in their world they have to actually move out and be bigger than the world. They have to set the agenda over the objects in their world. And at other times in their world, they actually have to let the world set the agenda over them. There needs to be a flexibility in changing positions within the center. Now, Gurdjieff often said that human relationships were based on type and polarity. Type and polarity. That means often we get together with people who have some link to our personality type. But when we start experimenting with different positions in our personality type, it brings about changes in the other person. I mean, I know a lot of people who maybe try to be bigger than the external world. They're always trying to be the object that is bigger, and push themselves up in relationship to the external world. And if they're with a partner who is used to being smaller, and as long as there's a climate where the other person can allow themselves to be under the object, then things function quite well. But when the other person looks for development and then says, well, you know, in some situations I have to be bigger, I have to actually be bigger than the object around me, or I have to actually make a deal in relationship to my partner being always the object that sets the agenda, then you can imagine the enormous tension. See, at the end of the day, personal development is personal. It's about trying to create, you know, the depth of human experience with all its diversity within us. And obviously any changes outside us, any changes with others, any changes in our workplace affect us. And it's an opportunity actually for us to really observe ourselves and invite others around us to observe themselves and to look at what happens as we deal with the external objects in our world.